He's singularly critiquing individual actions, not systemic ones. Exactly. That's precisely why I'm stating what I'm stating, which is that when you start defending white identitarian concepts, you very quickly, without recognizing, because you're refusing to recognize that like whiteness is power, okay, in the way that it is defined, it's an in-group that has the power. So once you start defending that in-group that has the power as something that needs to be defended, you have to recognize that, like, how do you do that defense? How do you engage in defending the white race? Who do you consider to be white? And I don't think Asmongold would be like, yeah, white replacement is real, or, white genocide is real, and that we have to defend it by stopping miscegenation. You know what I mean? That's how that works. Wouldn't it be good to address the critiques of singular actors as bad in order to dismiss the arguments against what you're saying effectively? No. Because, like I've said time and time again, the fundamentals that that argument lands on, the fundamentals that that argument starts on, are false. It's a false premise that I will not take on as a genuine, real concept. Do you not get this? I'm not saying it's good to constantly shit on white people or whatever the fuck. I'm simply stating that I refuse to acknowledge that anti-white racism is a real thing. Do you get it? Because in order to acknowledge that it's a real thing, you have to acknowledge that there is a concept of white race, which comes from your genetic purity, and it comes from your lineage, not from skin color, by the way, because those who are like the true whites will always be able to shut off whiteness, not on the basis of your skin color, like myself, right? But on other factors, like, you're Turkish, your name is Hasan, you're no longer white. How dare you engage in anti-white racism? You yourself are not a white person. Do you get it? Because defending whiteness as a concept, given what whiteness is, power is a socio-political term that implies you have it, okay? What you are saying is true, but not everyone sees it that way. Well, what I say is true and not everyone sees it that way could be applied to a multitude of things I advocate for, but I don't stop advocating for those things because I believe them, and my entire goal here is to try to get people to engage with me charitably and develop a better perspective on what I'm trying to say. If you refuse to acknowledge it, why talk about it? Because I'm a political commentator, and this is a incredibly political subject, especially in America. For example, when we look at historic genocide, let's look at the Holocaust, for example. The Holocaust did not happen on the virtue of Jewish people not having sex. Okay? It happened because people put Jewish people in concentration camps. Okay? Bro, do not pause like that. He said the Holocaust didn't happen. Okay, guys, come on. Be serious. Be serious. Be serious. Be serious. Please. Please. Half of you guys are behaving in the worst way. This is a very serious conversation that we're having. Like, why do you lend credence to hate watchers by behaving like LARPing as hate watchers? Lecturing single chatters for 15 minutes at a time is so tiring, though, like yesterday. It might come across as tiring, but I think it's very important to address it. Most white people in the US absolutely do not see themselves as a group. They have a kind of terminally corrupting individualistic view, which is why class unifying political movements are so fucking hard to get moving here. That's why it seems to miss the critiques of this kind of racist language, because the argument isn't that whites deserve protection, but all racism is condemnable. Yes. But anti-white racism as an individual action is nothing more than mean bullying. Anti-black racism, on the other hand, has systemic power associated with it. That's why if, for example, reparations were to happen, okay, and the racial wounds were truly healed in this country, and I don't mean by like affirmative action or whatever the fuck, a Band-Aid solution that is feckless and liberal nonsense. But true material restitution occurred, okay? And centuries of racial wrongs were corrected. At that point, and that's like such an unimaginable scenario that it's hard to even like create it in your mind, I don't think people would care as much about the N-word. You abandoned the analogy about the Holocaust? No, I didn't. The Holocaust happened in the... Oh, God, I got to stop fucking pausing. Okay. Nazis threw Jewish people into concentration camps and systematically murdered them. They robbed them of their rights. They dehumanized them, okay, and robbed them of their rights in an interest to defend Volkish Germans, okay? Nazis in that regard, and the Volk was white. That's what whiteness was, okay? That's a real substitute for white in that situation. They said Volkish, but that was white, okay? Volk. Yes, other minorities and queer people and disabled people too, but for the sake of this argument, I'm using a reductive, a reductive description, okay? The Holocaust didn't happen on the virtue of Jewish people not being able to have consensual sex with, non-Jewish people. That's not how that happened. There is no real genocide when you talk about white genocide, because white genocide happens on the basis of white people, or whoever is considered white, which is a political term, having sex with non-white people, whoever is not considered to be a part of the group of non-whites. Okay? And the reason why I talk about this regularly, white people aren't real, question mark. We can't even get loan forgiveness. Reparations is a non-starter. True. White genocide is the existence of interracial couples? Yes. Yes, it is. Because whiteness and blackness in the United States of America are concepts that were created around power. Blackness, on the other hand, was utilized to dehumanize African slaves that were brought into this country. And it was protected with some rules that white people created, like the one drop rule, which is precisely why, like I said, no one looks at Barack Obama and says, that's a white guy. Okay? That's why they say shows are woke when they have non-white leads. Yeah. White people don't exist is your video I share the most with people, and it always blows people's minds. Yeah, there you go. If you want to understand this further, there's a really informative, very short 15-minute rant I had on this subject matter, and I think it really covers most of the things. But genocide is mass murder. How can this be murder? Exactly. It's hilarious to me that this is stuff a non-deranged society would be teaching to fifth graders, but you have to do it on Twitch to whole-ass adults. Yeah. Unfortunately, that is by design. Okay? That is by design. I know you spend a lot of time repeating points made in the past for new viewers. Do you think you change minds as a result? I think so. For every person that comes in here that agrees with all the other things I'm talking about, that gets very upset at me when they originally hear like a bastardized perspective that I have that I don't actually hold on to, but like is completely either A, clipped out of context, or B, really just butchered by an interlocutor. I try to have this conversation every single time and and demand, or rather beg, for charitability every single time, specifically because I think people will have their minds changed. And I think there are a lot of people whose minds I have changed, whether it be on transphobia, whether it be on even this issue. Which can't stop me from streaming. Oh, that's when I got banned. Yeah. I still think you're wrong on charter schools. Yeah, I'm definitely not wrong on charter schools. Wait, why'd you ban this guy? What? Don't ban this guy. Oh, you got timed out. The chatter was right, but it's also hilarious how many dudes my age are feigning outrage over the so-called white racism while also not realizing this is the first time in their life they've had to consider whether or not it exists because they never encountered it. Dumbasses. Yeah. I think ultimately this kind of conversation just moves us away, and it's incredibly stupid because it takes us away from things like healthcare for all, free education for all. And for all, I mean literally white people as well as black people as well as non-white people. Okay? It is a very divisive subject matter, and the only people that benefit from this are either the Nazis who want to do white identity politics, in the same way that SJWs, like the hyperventilating SJWs do, but this time they're doing it for white people. Okay? or the wealthy capital owners that benefit from the working class dividing amongst themselves and infighting. It's a very stupid conversation. When it comes down to it, if you want to hear my perspective on it, however, I will always give it to you.